Well. UFC 308 just happened less than 30 minutes ago. My name is Mr. Fight Companion. I love to talk about the UFC, talk about the fight game. Here we are. I just watched it. I just live streamed for like 7 hours. Thank you guys for joining and sticking with me and watching. I am here to break down the entire card, punch by punch, from the prelims to the main event. This is my full post-card fight breakdown. Let's get into it. First up, Renat Fakhretdinov versus Carlos Leal. I had Renat winning via unanimous decision. I thought Renat would basically outclass Leal everywhere, on the feet and on the ground. Turned out being the opposite. Carlos Leal came out and dominated Renat on the feet. He wobbled Renat a whole bunch of times, but I have to be honest, Renat's chin did hold on. It held on. And Renat's a tough guy. You know, he ate a lot of clean shots and somehow was still fighting until the final bell. That being said, Carlos Leal still dominated him, and somehow, by UFC bias in Abu Dhabi, they gave this fight to Renat. I think it was a disgusting decision by the judges. I think the judges need to be fired. It was really just poor judging, and somehow Renat got the W. So that's that. I don't want to dwell on it because it'll only get me more upset. So moving on, Ismail Nardiev versus Bruno Silva. I had Bruno Silva winning. I admitted that this pick was going to be risky, and it was. Bruno Silva had moments with the striking, but in the end, Ismail dominated, and he really dominated by way of him being really active. He found a lot of success on the feet and on the ground as well, and basically just dominated Bruno Silva to get a unanimous decision win. So congratulations to Ismail. Moving on. Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo. I had Farid Basharat winning, but I had him winning via his really excellent and smart grappling. But, I mean, Basharat was able to showcase a really good sense of striking in this fight. He was very fast, very technical, and landed a lot of the time against Victor Hugo, who was also looking good. I liked how aggressive he was, but in the end, couldn't cut it. Basharat ended up winning by a very surprising method, which was his striking, and I was surprised as well. Basharat took that via unanimous decision, and after that, I was like, 2-1? I had one fight wrong. Next up was a very fun fight for me, or I thought it was going to be, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett looked good up until he did this little fight celebration where he jumped up in the air, and as soon as he came back down, I guess he broke his foot. I mean, you can't even fucking make this shit up. Really, oh man, it's whatever. I really love Chris Barnett. It hurt to see him lose in this type of fashion. After breaking his foot, he winced a lot and then just shelled up after a few minutes into round one. And Kennedy was able to just tee off on him, and that was that. Chris Barnett loses, another one. I hope the UFC doesn't cut him. Moving on. Abus Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. I had Bruno in this fight because I felt like he was a very powerful brawler who makes fights fun. I think the UFC still needs fighters like him. But in any case, Abus Magomedov did come out and dominate. He established a good sense of range in the first round and took that round. In the second round, Bruno had some moments. I felt like he was able to wake up and throw some heavier shots and, cause some damage. And he did, but Abus was able to survive it. And when they moved on to the third round, I think Abus took Bruno down. Yeah, he took Bruno down and submitted him. So, looks good on Abus. I feel like Bruno still deserves a place in the UFC. He's aggressive. And I think, as long as he works on that takedown defense, I think he's got a real future. So, yeah. Next up, Matusabeki versus Miktebek Oralbai. I chose Matusabeki, and I'm glad I did. A lot of people like Miktebek, of course, because he looks like a caveman and he's a UFC meme. But people still genuinely like him, and he's a good grappler. He's a very good, skillful, strong grappler. Sadly, he rarely went to the grappling, and it was Matusabeki who shined. Matus landed a lot of the time on Oralbai, especially earlier on, and then he swelled the eye of Oralbai earlier on, and then Oralbai was about to get the fight stopped because of how big his eye was, but somehow the judges let it continue. So that was that. Oralbai continued to fight a full-out bloody war with Rebecca. The two of them headbutted each other a couple times in this fight, but overall Rebecca did outclass Oralbai on the feet. Oralbai had moments. He had some really nice uppercuts at times and a little bit of groundwork, but I think Rebecca took it, and he did take it. I think by split decision, though, but still, it goes to Rebecca, which was the right choice by the judges. Next up, Geoff Neal versus Rafael dos Anjos. It's exactly what I said was going to happen. Geoff Neal, a lot of power in his hands, good striker, going up against Rafael dos Anjos. Rafael dos Anjos, a UFC legend, but he is about 1,000 years old, so he shouldn't really still be fighting. Somehow he is. Geoff Neal hit him really hard with a 1-2 that sent him back. Dos Anjos gets back up. He gets hit again, but this time, I guess his knee buckled. Some shit happened with Dos Anjos' leg that caused him to fucking fall down and just call the fight. So Geoff Neal wins it. He takes that one, and he looked good too. Next up, last fight of the prelims, Ibo Aslan versus Rafael Quequera. I had Quequera because I felt like, even though this is his first time fighting in the UFC, I've seen his previous fights outside of the UFC, and he looks really good. Really sneaky body kicks, and just really overall great striking and very precise too. Ibo came out within the fucking first few seconds. Ibo's just laying it on Quequera, and Quequera has no response. Then Ibo lands an overhand to the top of Quequera's head at the like a minute in or less than a minute in. It wobbles Quequera, and then Quequera just fucking shells up and lets Ibo just tee on him, and then just lets Ibo knock him out, really. And that was it. Great stuff from Ibo Aslan. A lot of power from him. I look forward to see what he does at light heavyweight. I really do. And that ends the prelims. Now we're on to the main event. First up on the main event was Shara Magomedov, Shara Bullet, versus Armen Petrosyan. I had Shara winning by unanimous decision. I thought that Shara would outstrike Armen throughout the whole 3 rounds. But instead, Shara surprised me. And although it was a little bit of a back and forth to start out, Armen did look good on the feet a bit. Shara got into the pocket, hit a spinning back fist, and then spun the other way around to hit a second spinning back fist. Shara Magomedov looks amazing. That was an absolute ninja move. It looked really, really fucking cool. And it knocked Armen Petrosyan out. So, awesome. Can't wait to see what he can do. I'd love to see him fight Izzy. That would be a really fun fight. A really nice amount of striking in that fight. Something I would just really look forward to watching. So, yeah. Great on Shara for that fight. Next up, Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige. I had Lerone Murphy from the start because I felt like he was just more well-rounded. But Dan Ige surprised me. As soon as the fight started, Dan Ige came out there adding tons of pressure onto the front end of Lerone Murphy, throwing nonstop, and really trying to look to cause damage early on, maybe stop the fight early on. He looked good. Dan Ige looked really good. But as the fight progressed, Lerone Murphy was able to find his range, hit a lot of timely shots. Yeah, Lerone Murphy was able to find his range, hit a lot of timely shots from outside of the pocket. Also grappled a bit too and looked good with that. But yeah, he just did well. He did really well. Again, well-rounded guy. I did think the fight would have went to Dan Ige because I think Dan Ige, he won the first and then the second went to Lerone, and it was all up onto the third, and then Lerone got a couple of crucial takedowns that I think honestly won him the fight. So good on Lerone Murphy, and yeah, can't wait to see what he does next. But next up we got Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. This is a good one. I think, from the start I had Magomed Ankalaev. I believed in the power of Magomed Ankalaev. Hold on a second here. Just get this going. Gotta keep this thing charged because I was fucking live streaming for the whole thing, bro. It's crazy. Anyway, I believe in the power of Magomed Ankalaev, and I thought that's what he would use to really end this fight early. And even Uncle Dana told Magomed Ankalaev to make this fight good so he could get a title shot against Alex. Magomed, I guess, tried to do that, but Rakic looked good. He stayed on the outside. He hit a lot of leg kicks on Magomed Ankalaev, head kicks too. They were all well defended by Magomed, but, he still landed them. Magomed did land a lot of really nice crosses, really long crosses, straight to the face of Alexander Rakic. So I guess that's what won in the fight. But I feel like Rakic won it just by judging about, looking at output. I feel like Rakic won it, but I guess by damage, Magomed did win it. So at the end, they gave it to Magomed Ankalaev via unanimous decision, and I was surprised about it. I thought they would have gave it to Rakic, but they didn't. And that's just the fucking way it goes. Magomed won it. I don't think they'll give Magomed Ankalaev the title shot next because the fight wasn't up to par. I think they'll give him Jamal Hill, I guess. But yeah, I don't think Magomed gets a title shot next. I really don't. Because they told him to make that fight good, and he didn't make it good. Next up. Now, this one was fucking wild. Oh my gosh, wild. We have Robert Whitaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. I thought Khamzat was going to just, offensive wrestle and keep Robert Whitaker wrestling for all 3 or 5 rounds and to just win by decision. But what does Khamzat do? He immediately shoots for the double leg. Brings Robert Whitaker right fucking down. Brings him right down. And then chases for the back take. Gets the back take. And then chases for a rear naked choke. And then doesn't even have the rear naked choke fully in. Just around the chin of Robert Whitaker. And cranks. Immediately Robert Whitaker taps. And Khamzat Chimaev taps out Robert Whitaker in the first fucking round. Insane. Insane. Khamzat Chimaev is insane. And humble Khamzat Chimaev is a new mythical fighter and an evolution of the Khamzat Chimaev we've seen before. I'm so impressed. I'm amazed. I'm astounded. I'm in awe. I love Khamzat, and this is a great look on him. I think he'll do the same shit to Dricus, and I think Dricus is in a fuck ton of trouble. But yeah, and after it, if you go on, maybe if you just go to fucking to UFC news, to your UFC local news channels, it's factual evidence. It's factual that that crate that Khamzat had on Robert Whitaker in this fight broke Robert Whitaker's jaw in 2 places. Meaning that Khamzat Chimaev broke Robert Whitaker's jaw in 3 with a half-in rear naked choke. Khamzat Chimaev is going to be your future middleweight UFC champion. You heard it here first. It's going to fucking happen. That was insane. That was absolutely insane. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. I was so impressed, so amazed, so astounded. I love Khamzat, and that was amazing work from him. Last but not least, guys, the inevitable happened. The inevitable happened. I told you guys this would happen. It's inevitable. Ilia Topuria knocked out Max Holloway in the 3rd round. Max was doing well. He did bounce around. He moved on the outside. He got a couple jabs and crosses in on Ilia's face. He tried to utilize some kicks, but he didn't utilize kicks to my liking. And in the end, ended up having an opening. Ilia was landing earlier too. But like I said, it only takes a couple shots from Ilia. You cannot let Ilia Topuria land on you all day. It's not going to take that many for him to knock you out. And he knocked out Max. He knocked out Max Blessed Holloway. The first man to knock out Max Blessed Holloway. A UFC legend. Ilia Topuria did that. And now Ilia's saying that he's going to fight Volk next. I think he's giving Volk another shot. Wrong fucking decision. Wrong decision. Volk should not be fighting Ilia next. And I love Volk, and I want Volk to chase glory, but this is not how you do it. Volk does not deserve another title shot. Ilia knocked Volk clean out. He knocked Alex out. Ilia needs to fight Islam Makhachev. I think Ilia should have called for Islam Makhachev right then and there. Screw a rematch with Volk. Volk does not deserve it. Ilia should be fighting Islam Makhachev next for the lightweight title. Insane stuff. I would love to see Ilia versus Islam Makhachev because I want to see somebody finally test Ilia because nobody is. Ilia's moving through these guys like fucking a rock through paper, man. He's landing these wild, heavy, powerful overhands and hooks that just dig into people and knock them right out. And we've seen it firsthand. He just knocked out Max Holloway clean shot, sent Max Holloway flying. Now, he didn't knock Max Holloway totally unconscious. He still was conscious, but Max was out. He wasn't asleep, but he was out. Congrats to Ilia. He is officially the Spanish Conor McGregor. I'll say it from now on. He is the Spanish Conor McGregor. He's him, man. Ilia is him. Max can go defend the BMF belt again, but Ilia is on his way up. He's got a challenge for the lightweight throne. He has to. If he wants his legacy to be remembered for years and decades to come, he needs to challenge for the lightweight throne. He needs to fight Islam Makhachev, the man that nobody has been able to move. I think Ilia won't get it done, but Ilia still needs to challenge him for that title. He needs to challenge him for that right. Because Ilia's doing things to people that nobody's done. Okay, well, no. Islam didn't knock out Volk, but nobody's knocked out Max. And Ilia did that. Ilia did that. Absolutely sent Max Holloway flying off his fucking feet. Ilia does that. This guy is a Spanish Conor McGregor. He's on his way up, and he's going to be fighting Islam sooner than later. I don't think he should be fighting Volk again, but Volk, I guess he is going to give Volk a chance. And if he is, Volk is fucking screwed. I have Ilia doing the same shit to him. Same exact thing. No change. And that's that. Overall, I think this card was definitely higher on the scale of UFC cards. Loved it. A lot of great, entertaining stuff happened in this card. Great stuff. Either way, like this video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Subscribe. But most importantly, subscribe. I love you guys. Thank you all for watching. Love you all. I'll see you on the next.